The well smelled of wet stone and something sweeter honeysuckle, perhaps carried down by decades of rain. Father Aldric Marchetti adjusted the lantern on his rope and wrote in his journal. The 9th of January 1932. Village of Vellana, province of Cuneo. Body of adult female found in well number 7, abandoned since 1889. The chalk mark on the wall read, C. MORELLI fine 7 febbraio. He photographed it and climbed back into the January air. He did not know that 400 people would gather outside the well by nightfall, or that the woman in the pale evening gown would remain officially unidentified for 91 years. In January 1932, Father Marchetti's routine inspection of abandoned agricultural infrastructure led to well number 7 on the outskirts of Vellana, Italy. The body was positioned upright, her face turned upward as if awaiting a curtain call. She wore a full-length evening gown with faded jeweled trim, white roses pinned at her shoulder, and a small purse containing a mirror, a powder compact, and 45 Italian lire in coins. The examining physician noted with confusion that the roses appeared fresh, impossibly fresh for a body that had been submerged for what locals estimated was over a year. The autopsy would reveal the true cause of death, and the name that would eventually surface from a forgotten letter in Milan's police archives. 3 days after the body was discovered, an anonymous letter arrived at the Vellana police station. Written on yellow paper in urgent feminine handwriting, it stated, "The woman in the well is not a local. Her name is Clara Morelli. She sang at La Scala until 2 years ago. Find out who silenced her. Find out why." Inspector Enzo Ferraro took the letter seriously. He wrote to Milan's questura and requested confirmation from La Scala's archives. The response came 11 days later. Yes, a Clara Morelli had been employed as a soprano at La Scala from 1924 to 1930. She had left abruptly in September 1930. Her final address on file was a boarding house near the Duomo. She had never returned to collect her things. The records painted a picture of a careful, methodical woman. Clara Morelli, born 1,901 inches Turin, had trained at Milan's Conservatory and debuted at La Scala at 23. Colleagues described her voice as technically flawless but emotionally restrained, perfect for Puccini, less suited to the passionate works that audiences craved. A black and white photograph showed a thin woman with dark, hairpin severely back, hollow cheeks and eyes that looked directly into the camera without smiling. Her last documented performance was on the 14th of September 1930, an evening of standard arias at a private gala. What intrigued Ferraro was a handwritten note in the margins of the guest list. Morelli insisted on an encore, a folk song not on the program, left immediately after without greeting the host. The accompanist who witnessed her departure provided the next clue. Clara had boarded a northbound train at Milan Centrale station, telling him she was visiting family in the Piedmont Hills. He remembered her hands shaking as she gripped the compartment railing. He remembered too that she had mentioned Vellana once before, a passing remark about her mother's birthplace. Ferraro dispatched 2 officers to the village. They interviewed the landowner whose property contained well number 7, a distant cousin of the Benzo family who had owned the land since 1872. He confirmed the well had been sealed after a cholera scare in 1889 and never reopened. He had no idea how anyone had gained access. The well itself told a story. The pulley system was rusted but functional. Someone had lowered themselves down deliberately. The rope attached to the bucket showed fresh wear marks consistent with multiple ascents and descents over several days. On the lower stone step, investigators found the imprint of a woman's shoe size 37, according to the cobbler who examined the cast. But it was the chalk notation that troubled Ferraro most. C. Morelli fine 7 FEBBRAIO. The handwriting matched samples in her personnel file at La Scala. Clara Morelli had written her own epitaph before entering the well. The question was whether she had descended to die or to sing. The coroner's report listed cause of death as cyanide poisoning, administered approximately 72 hours before the body was discovered. The absence of water in her lungs confirmed she had died before entering the well. The evening gown, according to La Scala's costume mistress, was from the 1929 to 1930 season and had not been returned to the wardrobe inventory. The white roses, when analyzed, were found to be a hybrid species grown exclusively in 3 commercial greenhouses in Turin greenhouses that kept rose bushes in bloom year-round by adjusting temperature and light. Clara Morelli had purchased them herself, less than a week before her death. The investigation concluded that Clara Morelli had taken her own life, likely due to depression following an undisclosed illness that had damaged her vocal cords. The anonymous letter was filed as either a concerned friend's exaggeration or a deliberate misdirection. The well was resealed. The case was closed. But Ferraro never submitted his final report, and the sealed envelope in his desk contained notes he had gathered in the final weeks. A second letter, also unsigned, warning him to stop asking questions about a concert in Genoa in November 1929. The letter referenced a patron who does not tolerate loose ends. Ferraro was found dead of a heart attack in his office in March 1933, 1 year after closing the case. In 1987, a historian named Dr. Elena Visser obtained permission to review the Vellana case files, which had been transferred to a regional archive. She noticed what previous investigators had missed. A footnote in the 1890 census mentioned a 17-year-old girl named Anna Morelli, who had drowned in well number 7 in August 1891. Anna Morelli, according to parish records, was Clara Morelli's mother's younger sister. Clara's mother had left Vellana for Turin in 1899, pregnant and unmarried, and had never returned. Clara had known about Anna, or had she discovered it? The parish priest's diary from 1930, uncovered in a storage room in 2003, contained an entry from the 12th of September 1930. A young woman from Milan came to inquire about the Morelli family. I showed her the grave markers in the old cemetery. She wept and asked about the well. In 2000, ground-penetrating radar conducted during a highway survey near Vellana revealed an underground chamber connected to well number 7, a space sealed off during the 1889 closure and forgotten by everyone except, perhaps, Clara Morelli. The chamber has never been excavated due to bureaucratic delays and insufficient funding. Local legend now claims that on certain moonless nights, you can hear a faint humming from the well, wordless, sustained, climbing toward a note it never quite reaches. Clara Morelli's voice was meant to fill concert halls. Instead, it filled a stone shaft 30 meters deep, heard by no one, preserved by nothing except the memory of a farmer who thought he was listening to wind. The opera singer sang her final aria at the bottom of an abandoned well, and no one was there to listen. Why did Clara Morelli, a woman with a career and a voice, choose a forgotten place to die? What did she discover about her family in Vellana that drove her to that well, that made her write her own name in chalk before the end? And who, if anyone, is still keeping her secret?